Namaskar students, I welcome all the PG Diploma students on this class. The basis of behavior and mental processes. I am Dr. Vijay Singh Gusain, Assistant Professor, Shri Bahadur Shastri, National Sanskrit University, New Delhi. The highlights of today's topic are biological theory, biological basis of behavior, behavioral theory of behavior and mental processes, psychoanalytical theory, humanistic theory, and cognitive theory. So, let us first go to the topic. So, basically, basis of behavior and mental processes. The another word for basis is perspective or theories. It means I am going to highlight today the 5 theories or 5 perspective or 5 bases of the cause of the behavior and cause of mental processes. So let us start today with the biological perspective. So what does the biological perspective says? It tells the cause of behavior in terms of body constitution, hereditary factors, genes, nervous system, especially the brain, spine, and endocrine system. So let us start with the biological theory on the body constitution. Sheldon and Sheldon investigated body constitution theory based on the Hippocratic theory of 4 types of bodies, but his conclusions were nearby the theories of Ayurveda body type, which means Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. According to Sheldon and Sheldon, what we call in Ayurveda as Vata, he called it ectomorphic type. What we call Pitta, he called it mesomorphic type, and what we call Kapha, he called it endomorphic type. So each type of body has different kind of physical behavior and mental behavior. For one example, the Vata type tend to be more overactive, the Pitta type tend to be very determined steps, and the Kapha type have a slow walking pattern. And in terms of the mental processes, Vata types tend to be very imaginative. Their mind fluctuates from one point to another. The Pitta type are more determined. They have a strong willpower. They tend to rebel. They don't tend to forgive. While the Kapha type are more peaceful and forgiving people. So this is how body constitution affecting our behavior as well as mental processes. Let us come to the second point, hereditary factors. You see, the various physical traits, for example, the body constitution, eye color, even the height, and behavioral pattern we borrow from our parents. And in terms of the mental processes, the psychologist and research says we borrow the kind of intelligence, creativity, impulsivity, stability from our parents. So this is the second point, how we enhance the behavior, attain the behavior by birth, mental processes by birth. In third term, the genes, there is a gene theory which we called gene dominance versus gene recession. When the mother's egg and the father's sperm meet at that particular point of time, if certain gene dominates, and that kind of a behavior and mental processes, the child is dominant. For example, if the mother is submissive but the father is aggressive. But at the point of formation of the yolk, formation of the zygote cell, if the mother's gene of submissiveness dominates, then the child will tend to be more submissive, more peaceful. But if reverse happens, the child tend to be aggressive. So this is how genes affect our mental processes as well as behavior. Next is the chromosome. Chromosome does affect our behavior and mental processes. For example, X and mating of the X and Y chromosome makes one male, while YY makes one female. You see, just because of the chromosome, the way our body, the way we behave is quite different. The male are more muscular, they take more interest in sports and all that, and female become caregivers. The body structure also, similarly you can say that not only the body structure but also the mental processing also become changed due to the chromosome of XY. The males are mostly the thinking oriented and the female are more feeling oriented. And the scientist also says the Mongolic child and mental retardation has certain definitely to do some chromosomal defects. And next point is nervous system, which means the structure and functioning of the brain also affects our behavior and mental processes. For example, if somebody with the overactive hippocampus, such a person tend to be very much satisfied with what he has and do not try to break the comfort level to achieve certain things. They tend to just survive rather than strive for something. Similarly, the product of nervous system is called neurotransmitter. I am giving here the example of serotonin. If serotonin level is high in somebody, the person tend to become overwhelmed, happy. But if the serotonin level falls down, the person tend to experience depression. And you see the depression as well as happiness has own set of physical behavioral pattern as well as mental behavioral pattern, either in depression or the happy person. Similarly, the last point is endocrine system. The structure and the function of the endocrine system also affects our behavior. For an example, if a female with a high level of testosterone makes her more muscular, encourages her to take part in sports, makes her more aggressive, and similarly the vice versa, the male with the high progesterone or estrogen level can behave differently. So this is about the biological cause of the behavior and mental processes. Now let us understand the second perspective, behavioral perspective. The behavioral perspective tries to understand the cause of behavior as well as mental processes in three terms: the stimulus, organism, and response. What does the stimulus mean? The stimulus means anything which stimulates a response in an organism, in a person, in an animal, and in the and some kind of a generate some kind of a response through the internal environment and external toward the internal and external environment. So anything which stimulates a response in the organism is a stimulus, and the What does the environment means? Environment means person's internal environment and external environment beyond the boundary. Here organism means who perceive a stimulus, who perceive some kind of a sensory effect, sensory response to the brain through the eyes, through the ears. And what does response means? Any activity occurred in the organism as a behavior, as an internal behavior of increase in blood pressure or respiratory rate or decreased anything, or external observable behavior like movements of hand, face becoming red and shrugging the shoulders or anything. All these are the responses. So I want to compare here, whereas the biological perspective says the body is the cause of behavior and mental processes, the behavioral perspective says the cause of behavior and mental processes is outside the body, that is in the environment. So this is about the second perspective. Third perspective of the cause of behavior and mental processes is called psychoanalytical or psychodynamic theory. And there are three theories to understand the cause of the behavior and mental processes. The first theory of psychodynamic is levels of consciousness: the conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious and collective consciousness. Second theory is factors of personality: id, ego and superego. And third one is stages of development. So let us move further. See, here you can see the Sigmund Freud has compared our consciousness, total consciousness, as an iceberg in the ocean. The quality of iceberg is the smaller part is seen on the surface, and that is the conscious mind. The part that is on the surface is the subconscious mind, and that the more major part which is under the water is the unconscious mind. Here, the picture suggests that the conscious mind comprises both our ego personality as well as superego personality, whereas the unconscious part comprises the id part of the personality and the superego. Let us move forward and try to understand what is id, ego and superego. And before that, let me remind you one more thing, that in the conscious level of mind, which is compared with the part of the iceberg which is seen, observed on the surface, which is a very small part, is a ego category of the personality. And ego try to balance between the pleasure side of the personality and should side of the personality. In the surface, the subconscious mind is the part of the mind which we call in scientifically the RNA. RNA is the storehouse of this births, memories and life experiences. Similarly, subconscious mind is the storehouse of this life, memories, and Sigmund Freud said this is just a superficial part. But our behavior as well as mental processes are mostly affected by the id part and the superego part. Superego means there are lots of shoulds and the values and principles which we should follow. So this is the part of unconscious, and along with that unconscious there is a lot of id, the natural instinct of hunger, fulfilling the hunger, thirst, need of the sex, need of the sleep, and need of the rest, activity. The Sigmund Freud also says if our pleasure, if our need for pleasure, need for some kind of a wishes, some kind of feeling are suppressed, so this also become part of the unconscious. So let us go back again and understand what is id. So id is related to basically unconscious part of the mind, and this part of the mind seeks to bring pleasure. If someone who have a mostly id dominated personality, he or she will tend to have the tend to have a pleasure most of the time and avoid some kind of a compromise. And id also represented primitive parts of our personality, the instincts of aggression, sexual drives, etc. Then what does the ego means? Ego is basically conscious part of the personality. It decides which need of the id is to be satisfied at what time, and at the same time which should or rules or values we follow. So it try to balance between the id on one side and the superego on other side. The superego is mostly the unconscious part of our personality, and it is basically represented by a should in our life. Let us understand the Sigmund Freud's psychosexual stages of development. Sigmund Freud says 0 to 18 months we have a oral stage of development where the child tend to seek pleasure, and center of the pleasure is the sucking of the mother's nipple, chewing and biting. And if that kind of the need is blocked, the child tend to be the nail biter. So this cause a nail biting behavior and suppressing one's desire and cause a lot of conflict in the personality. Second stage is anal stage, 18 to 36 months, and in this age child tend to seek pleasure by controlling the bowel and bladder movement and try to cope with the demands of the control. This is the stage where the child learns the first lesson of handling the frustration, because he is taught to pass stool and urine not when and where he wants, but rather at a particular place, so that he could learn a civilized manner. The third stage is a phallic stage, which is between the 3 to 6 year. The pleasure zone is genitals and coping with the insensuous sexual feeling. You know, might have found child between the 3 to 6 year try to touch his or her genital and try to seek pleasure. But if child is harshly taught not to touch the part, then child tend to develop a kind of a shamefulness, and maybe in the later stage kind of a low self-esteem and low confidence. The another stage is latency stage that comes between the 6 to puberty, and there is a dormant sexual desire. Between the age of genital, again the maturation of sexual interest. This is the onset of secondary hormone, and often this age of puberty or adolescent is called as the age of stress and storm. Because of the hormone, the adolescent goes through a kind of an identity crisis. He try to find out who and what kind of personality he really is. He try to wear such a different kind of clothes, make a different kind of mustache, wear different kind of clothes, and try to identify themselves with the activities, clothes, hairstyles their group tend to practice. So I would like to just stop this video at this moment and let you know the two more perspective in my next video. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video.